Would you be able to the best of your ability, remember step by step of how you got from uni till now, essentially? It can include like holidays, jobs you did.
Yeah, right. Tricky because a lot of the time I've been working, I've been studying. So it was kind of during university that I started my professional practice as a, I guess, a digital media artist. So while I was studying, so I studied fine arts, and during that I was using the campus or the digital media of the campus to tailor my fine art practice to work in galleries. So the step-by-step process of that was to try and do as many external gallery shows while I was studying, so I had a professional practice by the time I left. But what happened was, during that time, I was doing gallery shows of conceptual works or installations, and went to Monash University to study my honours, and while I was there, sort of found VJing and was doing conceptual works, but left university and kept doing the VJing. So it was like this departure from doing like conceptual fine art work for galleries and doing digital works. And then they came back to the university, and during my second attempt at honours, I did an artist residency at the Walls, where I created a interactive artwork called Body Pod. And that kind of was the stepping stone to work in that direction. So it was still working in galleries, but I was doing solo shows at the Gold Coast City Gallery, and I was doing shows at the Walls, and I eventually got my feet into festivals. So the I guess the step-by-step process was work out where I wanted to show work, while making work that I wanted to make, and kind of ignoring any kind of industry.
So you feel like a freelance kind of thing, just...
So I was kind of freelance before uni. So I was a graphic designer before I started university. So I had a freelance practice, and I've always freelanced. Like, I've always just worked for myself. It's kind of different to a freelance practice at the beginning, because I was doing a professional arts practice where I was getting gigs through grants, through shows, through exhibitions, and through residencies. And what happened was, that's kind of a non-sustainable way of living. So you build a practice up, and there was a point, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, I was doing my PhD, where I had to make a decision between doing conceptual works for galleries, and just doing like VJ gigs on the side, or really diving into the VJ audiovisual work and taking that to freelance and taking that to be my bread and butter. Because at that point I had a few different jobs. I was teaching, doing that sort of stuff. So it was like a few years ago that I decided to take it seriously, and then toured the East Coast. So I just did all these music festivals. I got in with a group called Club Sandwich, and they let me play on big stages. That was my first foray into doing VJing. And then from there I worked with iBite, who I do things like Rainbow Serpent Festival and big festivals like that, while doing freelance design work, freelance video work. And the way I was doing that was just to figure out who I wanted to work with and navigate towards them. Like, just like be around them, and not being really pushy, just work out what they do, how they do it, what the language is, the lingo, structures of the workflow, and then sort of present something new to them. So like, hey, I can do this sort of thing, and I can perform, and I can work, and I've got discipline. So yeah, I went from doing PhD to doing a lot of DJing gigs, and then I ended up, the big stepping stone, the big point was sort of meeting the guys at Iconics, and I was doing a large-scale projection work for the Gold Coast City Gallery. Met those guys, and they put me onto a gig for a show called Creative Generations, and I was using Black Tracks and software called Notch, and all kind of like higher end equipment that I haven't been able to use prior. So that was a big stepping stone, and that was the point where I can now work in sort of larger studios and work with larger equipment. Yeah?
Yeah. I'll try and finish it within like 20 minutes easy.
Yeah, you're right.
What skills are... Oh, it's kind of hard because you're doing
Go
everything.
for it,
But
just ask it anyway.
what skills are not necessarily needed but would complement your role?
I'm not needed, but would complement my role. Probably more stringent business training. Just because even though I don't deal with budgets and that sort of stuff, every now and again I'm asked to give proposals for works, and that can very much become a business proposal very quickly.
Yeah.
And you start talking about like financial sustainability in a practice and things like that, which even though I did run a business for quite some time, I didn't run it in the way that someone who's trained in business would run it. I ran it like a freelancer, like I still do. Like I just have an accountant, they do my accounts, and I just do the work. But it's one of those things that it's not completely necessary, but I think I'd make a lot more money as a freelancer, and I'd be a bit more stringent money if I had a background in business, but
Yeah.
I don't have that skill.
Thanks. What do you enjoy / not enjoy about your job? Basically, pros and cons.
Yeah. What I enjoy is having a varied kind of existence. So I don't have a studio. Oh, I do have a studio now that I work in as like a place of employment. But even that's still varied. So like I might be in a desert working on a show one week, and then I might go back to the studio and work on some like visuals for a show. I might work with a DJ. Then I might do some like straight up motion design. And that's like really interesting because I have a short attention span for like projects. I have a long attention span for like an overall arc of what I want to do, and I'm working towards learning skills to make that happen. But one of the real pros of that is just like meeting weird people, working in weird places, working with strange media, and I guess the equipment I'm working with always getting a bit better.
Yeah.
The cons of that, not having a stable place of employment most of the time, even though like I have a stable income, that sort of stuff, but freelance can be terrifying around about Christmas time because all the gigs just drop off. Every agency stops for around about late October. They rock up again about late January, so you have this point where you have to start picking up weird gigs over Christmas, which is where I do a lot of VJing. So it's sort of like half and half of like I enjoy it being varied, and sometimes I just hate it being so varied because then let's say if I'm chasing work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy. Did you find it difficult to find work, or was it just easy for you?
That's a tricky one. I don't apply for jobs pretty much ever. Like I went to TAFE and did graphic design, and I applied for heaps of studio jobs and got a few bites, got a job in a studio, and that's the first time I went through the process of trying to get work.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I decided that I didn't want to do that, and I built my business doing graphic design, and just learned to allow the work to come to me.
Yeah.
In a weird sort of like manifest it and it will come situation, but there's ways of planting seeds for clients. So like my kind of like goal for freelance is to never it's happened a couple of times, but like I tend to not ask someone, hey, do you have any work I can do? I tend to take someone out for coffee, see how they're doing, so then in a few months' time when something comes up after our conversation, they might be like, oh, Jason's a guy who can do that.
Yeah.
So I just have like a network of people I'm always talking to, always having a drink or a coffee with, building a network of sustainable people who are interesting. So at any point in time, they're just asking me to do something for them. So it's kind of like building a network, it will come.
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking for work, it's difficult and a little bit soul-destroying sometimes. Yeah. But in terms of studio jobs, not something I ever want to look for, but it's something I sometimes fall into.
Yeah.
So I prefer to fall into stuff. Yeah.
And one other thing, so you did graphic design at TAFE, how do you hone your skills in like motion tracking and all that stuff?
I'm not trained in any of that. So
was that just by your own?
Yeah, that was just weekend stuff. So I went from graphic design, but that gave me a sensibility for design. So there's like foundations that I learned there. And then going from there to fine arts. So fine arts is like this foundation of ideation, of how to think of ideas and conceptualize. So So it was like taking design discipline, fine art, conceptualization. I knew how to video edit and that sort of stuff because it's all the same kind. Like once you know one platform, you can use the next one.
Yeah.
And it was just like I've always been a bit proficient with using software, and I could do web design. And when it came to motion tracking, that came from when I was at Monash, and I wanted to make an artwork where I controlled a video piece. So I worked out how to use Quartz Composer, which is like an old bit of tech in Apple Mac computers. So the graphics Xcode situation. And from there, like, picked up Touch Designer and just went, I want a VJ. I don't want to use Resolute. How do I do it? So I sat down for like 4 months, worked it out, started doing shows at the end of the month, end of the 4th month, and then from there, little things happen. Like I had a show, and I'm like, but a show, I could control the video. So then I worked out how you can control video with motion tracking, worked out how to use a leap, and it just snowballed. So it was like, it was sort of from, I mentioned it in class before, but I bluff.
Yeah.
I bluff heaps. So like, someone goes, hey, do you have an interesting idea for a show in the video room of this gallery? And I'm like, oh yeah, I could have it so when you walk in, particles come off the body, and they're like, that sounds great. And then I go home and like, how do I make particles come off the body? So then I just work it out.
Yeah.
And then I just put in a file of particles, body, and forevermore I can do that. So yeah, it comes from just putting myself in the deep end and having to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never formally learned coding, tracking, any of that stuff, but because the technology grows so quickly, once you learn the foundations of it, of like plugging stuff in Touch Designer, it's really easy to then just keep up with it and grow. Yeah.
Sweet. So, is the pay rate competitive, or do you feel as though it isn't what you thought it would be? It's okay if you don't answer this question.
No, you're right. Really depends which side of the industry you're on. So the only one I could really talk about would be VJing, I guess. So graphic design and media and motion design, they have set rates. And if you're working for too little, you're just doing it wrong. So it's like set rates for most things. Like I could work for anywhere from 80 to 100 an hour as a graphic designer, as a freelancer, and just make some money really quickly. And those are set rates, and those are pretty agreed upon. What's not agreed upon is how much someone like a VJ makes. So I might do a festival, like a 5-day festival, as a VJ at something like a trance festival. And most times I just do it because I love it. So then it's like, I might get $125 an hour, but I might only play like 6 hours. So I'm not making very much for 5 days work.
Yeah.
So then maybe I might just go into that gig really quickly and pop back out. But then when you work in the other side of the industry, so if you start working in events, like corporate events, as an operator, like a lighting operator, like those are very much agreed upon rates, and those are very well paid, but that's where it becomes very competitive.
Yeah.
So you have to be disciplined and professional. So there's, I guess, for me, in terms of pay rates, it's about context. So like I will do lots of trance festivals because I know if I get really good at that, then I can walk into these other gigs, feel experienced, and not feel like if I'm charging so much an hour, then I'm just gonna like mess it all up.
Yeah.
And it comes like a financial pressure when you start working in the higher gigs, because if you mess up, not only do you mess up all the money that you're working for, so you're demanding a great pay rate, but if you mess up, you might mess up $1 million worth of a show. So it's all contextual to the risk of the gig. But what's not agreed upon is low to mid-range video performers, and there's nearly a union in place, but like most of the time promoters don't have the money or don't care. So it's about working with people who do care and festivals who care.
My name's Simon Doe, I'm 29 years old, and I'm a graphic designer for the Surfboard Warehouse.
Would you be able to the best of your ability, remember the path you took from Griffith Uni till now?
Yeah, sure. So, I graduated at Griffith Uni in 2011. I studied digital media, majoring in graphic design and minoring in printmaking. So after uni, I applied for a ton of jobs on the Gold Coast. a lot of which had a minimum of 3 years studio experience, which I found really hard to kind of break the mold, get a foot in the door. It was a bit of a struggle trying to just get that experience if you didn't know someone. So I decided to go to Canada and travel for about 3 years, snowboarding and whatnot. I did a little bit of graphic work over there for a medical centre. It wasn't really my vibe, and then I came back to...
What was the medical centre's name?
It was at a ski resort in Big White. It was called Big White Medical Centre. Yeah, so over there I just did a few little posters and ads for them. It wasn't full time, but I did get paid, which was good on the mountain. And then I came home. I got lucky through a friend back home in Byron doing filming juicing videos for Vitality for Life. So they're a company that make blenders, and I did that for probably 3-4 years, just on and off, freelancing to them. Not really graphics, but my graphic work and stuff I learned at uni came into play within putting titles over the video and kind of animation, but it was mainly videography that I was doing. At the same time, I had to kind of get another job, so I was doing kayak touring for about 3 years in Byron, and then I moved back up to the Gold Coast. I was looking for any work, and I stumbled across the Surfboard Warehouse had a sales assistant role advertised. My resume being fully graphic design based, I just didn't change it. I gave that to them, said I'm a keen surfer. They called me back and got me in for an interview, mainly because my resume was so graphic based and film orientated. They said, we're going to hire you as a sales assistant. Come winter, when it slows down, we'll see how you can go with the graphics. And now, about a year and a half later, I'm doing graphic design for them. So they do have one other guy who's the head designer. He does all the fun stuff like the logos and all that kind of jazz. I'm mainly doing a lot of EDM, so email catalogs and Facebook carousel adverts. A lot of kind of saving out and a lot of Photoshop, a little bit of Illustrator, but mainly just Photoshop, and that's
What skills are needed for your role as a graphic designer? Do you need to be a master in Illustrator or Photoshop, for example?
I'm going to say a master in Photoshop for my role. I do use Illustrator for a bit of typography, but mainly Photoshop. I do a lot of color correction, a lot of text, and just collages of different stuff. I also do a lot of templates, so we've made big files that templated out, and we can a lot of exporting, a lot of stuff.
What skills are not necessarily needed but would complement your role?
Stump me out. Not needed. Website design, I don't need, but if I had it, it would make life a lot easier. I would probably merge into a different role, a better role, if I knew some coding or knew better coding. Photography, just basic photography skills would always complement my role. They're not generally needed, but just having an eye for framing and an eye for colour correction and stuff like that, that's always a positive.
Sweet. What skills have you learned or honed as you've worked in your field over the course of your work life?
I've learned how to be pretty organised, you got to be organised just with how you're saving things, and then just your layers and groups, making templates, always remembering to save, back up, and just organisation.
Sweet. Anything cool or unexpected that has happened whilst working your job?
At the surfboard warehouse, it's pretty cool. Being a graphic designer, I still get to test out the boards. I've been involved in a few photo shoots, so I get to actually get out of the office and take photos of surf, sometimes be in front of the camera surfing. And then, it's being around surfers is just a good vibe. We all always have a laugh. I did a yoga photo shoot, which was pretty weird but funny, and just good crew, good vibes.
Too easy. Do you have any advice for new people graduating out of uni?
Yes, I would say try and network as hard as you can while you're at uni. Your traineeships are very important, so try and get a good one. And then, every year there's another year graduating under you, so don't leave it too long, because soon you'll be a dinosaur like me. And you just want to keep at it, don't give up, constantly keep learning, and just keep going.
So easy. What do you enjoy or not enjoy about your job? Basically, pros and cons.
I enjoy the fact that I get to be a little bit creative. I don't enjoy not having milk with my coffee in the staff room. But sometimes looking at the same thing and dealing with surfboards, you're kind of just saving out this whole surfboard range. It gets a bit monotonous, but I do enjoy having the creative freedom to create new styles and banners, and just dealing with an area that I like. Very good.
Is a pay rate competitive, or do you feel as though it isn't what you thought it would be?
It is super competitive. I thought it would be a little bit higher, but it's very competitive. There's a lot of graphic designers out there.
Too easy. Do you ever work from home, or do you go to the workplace all the time?
I go to the workplace all the time.
Too easy.